All right, what I need for you to do is just a quick review. Tell me something that you remember or you know about energy pyramids. Give me some information, Roger.
The energy flow is 10%, so that means if the plant has 100, so it will take 10% of every percentage. Like the plants have 100, so the next one will be herbivores, and that'll be 10%.
Okay, so let's make sure we clarify that there. Yes, it does take 10% of every level energy flow from the top of the pyramid to the bottom, or from the bottom to the top. So then we can also say it flows from what to what?
Greatest to least.
Least to greatest.
What are those things that we're talking about? The energy pyramid. Huh?
Autotrophs to heterotrophs.
Autotrophs to heterotrophs, or from what are those autotrophs called? Producers to consumers, going all the way up. And Raji was correct in saying it's 10% that flows to the top. Very good. These levels are called what type of levels? No, you wrote it down. Say it louder. Trophic levels. Very good. Make sure you know that. I need to move by this camera because your noise is going to be on that camera. Put it on that side. All right, tell me something else.
Plants they make their own food, so they're called,
I know you were trying to remember from your notes. Good.
autotrophs.
Autotrophs. They are producers. They make their own food. They're called autotrophs, which is why they have how much energy?
100%.
100%. Give me something else. Something else. Brand, you put your hand up. Heterotrophs get their energy from consuming autotrophs, but also some heterotrophs get their energy from consuming other heterotrophs. What's the driving force for the ecosystem? Everybody. The sun. Give me something else that you remember about this energy pyramid. Something else. Shauna. Knew I was going to call her. Until you start raising your hand on your own, I'm going to call you.
Good morning, Wildcats. This is Miss Davis calling to let you guys know we're getting ready to do the drawing for the lunch winners. Okay, we have 2 winners here. The first one.
All right, so we got information on this. Let's then move on, because then you were assigned your animal. We talked about some information that went over here. What was it?
It was, there are limits on the size of the population that an ecosystem can support.
Okay, so ecosystem have limits on the size.
Yeah.
What is that called, Troy?
Carrying capacity.
Carrying capacity. What else did we learn on why ecosystems have a carrying capacity? Bestie? No.
Because the availability of resources.
The availability of resources. Did you experience that as one of these organisms?
Yes.
Okay, good. And when you're looking at questions like this, the reason why we did that activity is for you to kind of internalize it. Remember who you were and what happened, and that will help you with the question. Rihanna. Change in population level. Rihanna, you had an issue yesterday in your ecosystem. What was the problem? Huh? Why? Why? What else was the problem that you had? Who remembers the problem that Rihanna had as being wildflowers or grass?
Oh, he couldn't move.
Well, number one, he couldn't migrate. What else? I mean, he could. I mean, if bees were. But what else? Huh? Did you have any relatives?
No, he was alone.
Only. So there was a problem because everybody was going to be after him. He was going to be extinct pretty fast. All right. What else went in that side about the carrying capacity, Jenny?
Oh, like there's other species that's present, so that'll probably be more predator than prey.
Other species are present, so there'll probably be more predator, or you said or prey?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Simon? Huh? What about it? Were you all able to fit inside of that ecosystem?
No.
No, you all had a problem getting in the ecosystem, so therefore you had to migrate. What's I doing? Why do I have this? All right, any questions for that? Okay, then we put changes due to population growth. Talk to your group about what things may have changed, or what type of changes may have happened due to population growth? Huh?
That was decomposers, right?
Decomposers. We didn't call it that. We just called it decomposers. But yeah. All right. Let's take a look at something before we actually start to jot down some changes due to population growth. Because population growth means what?
Increasing the animals.
Increases in the organism, not just animals, but increases in the organisms that are within the
Area.
in the ecosystem. So let's look at let's look at a family population.
After the project is over, can I get some milk?
Give me some milk.
She needs some milk. Brandy. What you say?
It's my mother, brother, and me.
Have a great first day of school, guys. We're gonna miss you so much.
How many you gonna be with Tyler?
Like a Minnie Mouse.
Baby. Bailando. Bailando. I should be in that your more, shalala.
Sipping on apple juice.
Kids ball.
Go. Teacher dough.
That's how you sound.
All right. So talking about a family, I'm going to need some volunteers. You don't even know. Y'all don't ever know what you're volunteering for. I do. I pick you.
Please, I got a lot of energy.
Please, I do too. I'm happy. I woke up. I woke up today.
I'm the lady.
Jenny.
Yes.
Jenny, go ahead and step up here. So Jenny is a successful young lady. It's some years down the road. You can stand over there. Strike a pose. There you go. Now, through her life, I need another volunteer.
A boy. It could be a female.
Tavarsier.
Oh wow.
Jenny meets a Dapper Don. Tavarsier, kick them smooth lyrics, rap again. We never know what might come of this. I've been known to be a matchmaker, right, nigga? Throughout life, they go through life, they graduate from college, they become successful, and they get married. Dun, dun, dun. And what happens? They have 2 babies. They have a son and a daughter. So go ahead and pick your son and your daughter. Jenny, you pick the. Hey, quiet. Jenny, you pick the boy because there's always mama's boys, and somebody said you pick the girl for daddy's little girl.
That don't fit. He's supposed to be our child.
Yeah, we need.
My dad.
I never realized how tall Troy was until right now.
Right, because they all
All right. So,
So cute.
what happens? First of all, children, sit down for 1 second. Just sit close by. Or move over here. Just 1 second. Right now, they're living the life, right? They can go out. They can go out to eat every night. They can go to the movies. They can have dates. They can spend money, right? But these wonderful children
They ruin their lives.
have come into play. Excuse me. And what happens? Raise your hand and tell me what happens to their lifestyle. Brandon. They have to pay more bills.
They can't live as freely because they have to worry about how they're gonna
they have whatever they do now. It affects the
It
children.
affects the children, so they have to be able to provide not only for them, but they also have to think about the survival of
The kids.
their children.
Sure.
So right now they live in this nice little cottage type home, and this home actually is a 3-bedroom because they have these 2 children that are boy and girl, so they need to be in separate rooms,
Wait.
and then they have their own room, and they got a nice sized yard. But the children get a little bit older and want a companion. Troy, you want a puppy. But with that being said, these children, they do cost. So obviously, these 2 children are going to cost an extra $100 for feeding them. But then actually, they have, this is Troy, I'm sorry. Troy's extra this, I apologize. Troy wants a puppy. We don't have anybody being a puppy. But here's Troy. This is the mom and the dad, I apologize. This is the mom and the dad. This is how much they pay now. This is where they live. In their 2-family home. But then they have Troy, who's their son, who costs an extra. Troy gets a dog. The dog actually costs a little bit more money. You can sit down yet. You're not born. I'm sorry. You're not born yet. Right now, they just have Troy. Let's pay attention so we stay on track. I made a little bit of a mistake. So we have the mom and the dad. This is how much they actually spend on groceries because they can eat out. They live in this nice small house, which is only 2-bedroom. They got an extra room for guests. But they have Troy. Now they have a son that costs them a little bit more money. Troy needs a companion. He has a puppy dog. What do they need to do? What do you think they need to do?
They need to make money, like another, like finance thing for the dog, like shops and like.
Okay, they got to pay for shots and all that stuff. But right now their population is growing. This is where they live.
They gotta
They need
migrate.
to get a bigger house.
They may need to get a bigger house. It's their cost of living or their lifestyle is costing them a little bit more now because they have a responsibility. But then comes along Drika. You could go join your family. Stop Snapchatting on it. Drika comes along, and a year later, before they're actually able to get into their new home or buy a new home, she costs more money because now they have to up on their grocery bill. They have to feed her. Drika plays with her brother and plays with the dog, but Drika wants something of her own.
I want a dog baby.
So she gets a cat.
What?
Yeah.
Now this cat costs more money because you got to feed this cat too, and can't eat dog food. Although my friend's cat does eat her dog's dog food, and then she stands near the bowl like this, so the dog can't get it, and the dog's like, I'll just start. And then they have twins.
Yeah. Next.
Pick your twins. Jenny's all about picking her own twin. It's a boy and a girl.
So I'll have to say something.
It's a boy and a girl. Jenny, come on.
No, don't call people.
Aaron.
You should call.
Wow. Them some
All right.
great twins.
So what? Raise your hand and tell me what happened now.
Get up They there. gotta.
Tell me what happened.
More money.
More money. They have to.
Hold on, Brandon. Raise his hand. Brandon.
Oh, they gotta move it.
Well, they haven't moved yet.
Oh, so.
Well, they ain't now.
They ain't right. Oh, hey. So he said-
No, I don't want to.
Oh, wait.
I don't want to know what needs to happen. I want to know what happened.
The population grew.
Their family grew, which means their population grew. What's going to happen now?
You're gonna
More
have
money to feed
So these children cost an extra $50. So now their family has grown in a 2-year span. Their family has grown. So now what?
They got 8 kids. They have to move.
In what world does a family come?
Just the grocery bill I'm talking about. All right. So they're gonna have to do what, Raji?
Move in a bigger house.
They're gonna have to move to a bigger house. So they do. They get enough money.
Oh, y'all broke it up.
And they move. I wait. They move to this larger house because their family grew, so nobody else could fit in the smaller house they had. Their amount of their money that they need to spend, stop talking, also grew. Let's give our family a round of applause with your beautiful house and your new backyard. So therefore, on our side where it says changes due to population growth, we're going to jot down some things. What were those changes? What was one thing that had to change due to population growth? Drika.
The environment they stayed in.
What do you mean? Be a little bit more specific.
Like, they had to move houses because it wasn't big enough.
Okay, so as population grows, the need for what needs to grow?
Space.
The need for space.
Can I use your
Yeah, get it.
and we're right here on the last side.
Yep.
Ooh, these sharks.
The she shark.
Really? No.
Why didn't fill in the blank?
I want y'all to do it. Now, I don't want you to actually put space here because we're gonna put it somewhere else. Let's think about some other things that also grew. The need for what also grew?
You didn't want us to put space.
Food. Food was the major thing. So as the population grows, and that was evident in what you showed me back there. The population got bigger than the need for food. You were limited, or you were the food, right? So, but the person that was there, once they ate whatever organism that you were, they needed more food. So if you get more organisms, if more hawks, if Brandon called his hawk family over to the new environment, they're gonna be like, well, the fam got to eat. So if that population grows, then the need for food also has to grow. Everyone good with writing that? All right. Some populations need specific, for instance, as Jenny and Tabarsier's family grew, they needed specific what?
Money.
They need specific needs.
Like what? Really?
Space.
You need, what was it? Canard? They need a house, which is called a habitat. So some populations need specific habitats. If it were a desert, Vernon most likely would not survive in that habitat because he was a plant. Depending on the type of plant he was. The fish would not live in that habitat because there's no water. So some populations need specific habitat. They need it for space, like the family. They needed a bigger house because they needed more space. They also need it for shelter. Some organisms have to move into a forest area where they can have the sheltered trees. And they need it for breeding because they're also going to need somewhere to place their offspring. Any questions? All right, then you're going to take your paper, you're going to flip over to the next side. We're going to move really quickly because we're going to be looking at some videos and drawing. So now you're here. Yeah, I got faith in you.
Ooh, let me get that on Snap.
I have faith in my
Right here.
No.
And I'm going to show you a slide. You're going to copy this information down like this, and then we're going to start filling in some areas. So, make sure you leave, when you put symbiotic at the top, here, leave a little bit of space, and then split your bottom up into threes where you have commensalism, mutualism, and parasitism.
What?
Yes, come up again.
Oh,
I'll bring one back.
sir.
Anybody else want rulers? Can I
I'm trying to play these.
Hey, try to play these. And I get mad at my mom.
Chappie, sit down. Chappie, sit down. Let's not break. While you're copying that down, I just want you to listen to something. Not that. Not that. Not that.
Kanar said, I see you, Miss.
I do want you to work, but that wasn't what I wanted you to hear.
I should have got that on Snap. She gonna get famous from us being on her Snap.
Yeah. Oh, watch. It's like as much rubbing off. Right. What? No. Drink it. This is so Snap. Oh my God.
Oh.
Welcome to my story and favorites.
That's my daddy on this song.
I said somebody
I got this.
their feature.
I got this. What's this song about?
A grown man and they shoot high.
Relationship problem.
Without you and I. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So what he's talking about, there is no we without you and I. So this must be talking about a what? A relationship. And with this symbiotic relationship, it has to do with some we's. And it's going to talk about the type of we's that it's actually dealing with. So symbiosis originates from two Greek words, which means with living. And this means a relationship that involves living with something. So if you want to put in small, I try to make the screen black to get rid of the glare. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So symbiosis means, it's Greek, and it means with living, or living with. So we can put with and living. So symbiosis again means that it's a type of relationship living with something else.
I knew he was going
With and living. So this,
Go to your seat. Go to your seat.
it describes, pay attention, a close relationship sit down, drink scary.
Look at your project.
Sit down, boy.
Right, that's that karma for giving us a 0.
No, we just won't get to the lab, which means you won't get these extra points. How about that?
It's go sit down.
Now, remember you just heard the song, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It talked about what?
Oh yeah.
A relationship
Oh yeah.
between what? You and I. So how many was there? I'll wait. There was a relationship between you and I. So how many organisms is that?
Look what you did.
Between two organisms. Jadison, you working my nut.
I didn't do nothing. Except for like
Get over here and pick this up.
for a little bit.
This is not going to be a type of relationship where it's husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, mating. This is going to be a living relationship, a relationship for living purposes between two organisms of different species. So this one is not like Jeremiah was talking about, building a relationship, a loving relationship. This is of two different species for being able to live or survive.
Like a forced marriage.
It's not a marriage though, because this is not a loving or mating type of relationship. This is a living or survival. This relationship is for some type of survival.
Like a virus and all.
We're going to talk about it, just the types in just a second, so keep that in mind and see. going to break down these three, but I'm going to get rid of this screen, and you're going to write whatever one we're talking about, you're going to write it in that box. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm going to erase this. Talk to your partners for 30 seconds about the types of relationships you think, or some examples of relationships that you think will fall into this category. Now go sit on the other side. All right, freeze. Well, first one we're going to talk about is commensalism. So the information that we talk about right now is all going to go on the commensalism side of the box. Commensalism is one benefits and the other is not helped or harmed. And we talked about this in 8th grade. You may remember, but you may not. But commensalism is one organism is actually benefited and the other one is not affected. It's not helped and it's not harmed. This is called a one-sided symbiosis. So it's a one-sided relationship.
Get my phone, take pictures. So I can read the one. Please. Take a
Take a picture of this screen. Wait, not yet. Now, the next sentence that's going to populate, you don't need to write the whole thing. Maybe you just need to put a little star or an example. But in some cases, one of the organisms may be using the other one just for protection or transportation.
Oh.
So,
like in Lion King, right? In the opening scene, the birds, they would get on the elephants and stuff to go, instead of just flying on top, they would rest their wings.
they would rest their wings and they would be able to travel on the elephants. The elephants aren't hurt. The elephants aren't helped. But the birds are using them for transportation. Yes, the shark, and there's a certain type of fish that travels under the shark.
Oh, I've seen that before.
I can't see
Yeah, got jacked up, boy.
The fish will travel under the shark for protection because nobody's going to bother the shark. So you would put example for protection or transportation. Go ahead, Drika. Now we're going to watch a little video to explain it because you can draw a little picture or write the words of the example in that box.
Is that protection or transportation?
Yes, so here is,
Are there barnacles?
oh really?
It says barnacles.
Well, without the video, here's commensalism. This is a whale, and whales do have barnacles on them. I know you know barnacles from SpongeBob, but barnacles don't hurt the whale. They look like they hurt because they're like these craters that's sitting on the whale, but barnacles actually use the whale for transportation.
Mermaid Man and barnacle boy.
So if you want to put whales and barnacles for your example, that's a good one, or you can draw it. Stop talking while I'm talking, guys. It's rude, and we're not going to be able to get through anything.
The video won't play? You probably got to log into your account.
All right, our next one is mutualism. Talk to your partner and talk about what you think mutualism is. Talk to your group first. Keelan, what type of relationship do you think this is? Where they both benefit, both partners or parties benefit. There's a benefit to both. It's a long-lasting relationship. Of course, especially if they're both benefiting. Leave some space so you can put your example or you can draw. Before we talk about an example, raise your hand and tell me what type of ecosystem mutualistic relationships are there. Think about our ecosystem that we drew. Where were some mutualistic relationships there? Or where was a, that's a good, let me go back to commensalism. Where was a commensalistic relationship or a relationship of commensalism in our ecosystem drawing?
Maybe with the the deer and the tick. 'Cause
No.
like,
Mm-mm. The water's not an organism. Jenny, stand up.
does the tick affect the deer?
Jenny, what are you? What were you?
She was the orchid.
What were you? How does
Orchid.
she was an orchid. Where's the orchid located?
On the tree.
Where was the tree? Stand up, tree. Who was my tree?
Oh.
No, this is the first time, not the second time. Okay, Antasia was our tree. Jenny, where'd you live?
On her.
On the tree. Tree, were you harmed or helped? No, the tree wasn't harmed or helped. But Jenny lived on the tree so that she can have a closer access to the what?
Sun.
To the sun. It was a benefit for her and no harm or no benefit for the tree. Put down that example too, because that's the one that you should be working at, thinking about, because we all had a part in that. Yes?
Wait, so does a tick affect the deer?
We'll talk about that when we get to there, but that's not one. What example in our ecosystem would have been a mutualistic relationship?
The bee and the flower?
Why?
Because the flower, it gives the bee pollen. I mean, the bee pollinates other flowers and stuff.
So how was the bee benefited?
Because I know, but I don't know.
It gets the energy from
It gets
But how does that benefit the bee?
It keeps its job.
It can survive.
Why is the bee taking pollen from the flower?
No, I lied.
What'd you say, Jenny? Oh, what'd you say, Raji? The bee actually is using substances from the flower to take back to its honeycomb to help make honey. In result of that, the bee's going to pick up some pollen, and as it's flying and going to another flower, it's going to help with the whole breeding of the flower. So therefore, your example would be the bee and the flower. Draw it or write it. No, not photosynthesis, because that's not another organism. That's the sun. Remember, these are relationships between two organisms. Chappie, drill later. Cheer later.
Yeah, bro. Drill. Don't call her women. It's Mrs.
All right, our third type, parasitism. Talk to your partner that is across from you, and the same one back here, all three of you talk, and talk about what type of relationship this is. Simon. One is benefit. One organism is considered a parasite. And so one organism that's the parasite benefits while the other is harmed. The other is called the host. Kind of like a relationship between your parents and you. They will be the host, you'll be the parasite.
Why we harm them?
Because you take all our money, you eat all our food, you stress us out.
You make us clean your house, you make us clean your car, you make us
That's not harming you, that's benefiting you. That's helping you to be a productive citizen. I mean, because guess what? This is why you do chores. If it wasn't for me to go to work and pay these bills, you wouldn't have no water to wash your clothes. If it wasn't for me to go to work and pay bills, you wouldn't have no light to see.
You will be wild still, so you will be still in your
Actually, be able to get some sleep.
I'm going to the lake.
Alright, but with all jokes aside, looking at our ecological picture, our ecology picture, what would be a parasitic relationship? Chappie.
What the tick and
The tick and the deer. Why?
Because it's a parasite.
What's the parasite?
The tick.
The tick. And the tick is doing what?
It's harming the deer. Wait, don't ticks itch?
Well, what is the tick doing though? The tick is sucking the blood out of the deer, which is harming the deer. Wait 1 second. I want you to put that example down because that's one we had here. Troy was the tick, or Troy was the deer?
No, Jennifer was the tick.
Jennifer was the tick.
But it's still fighting.
All right. The one thing is sometimes the host dies because the parasite gets what it needs, and once it leaves, it kills the host because it may live inside of the organism, or it may just feed off of it, and once it's harmed it, this spot could come infected, and the deer could never recover, and then die, Jenny.
I was gonna say, like, it happened in SpongeBob when Sandy, she brought a tick from Texas, and it kept, like, scratching her or something like that. And it kept jumping from one place to another.
Can another example be a bee in like a human? Because if you're allergic to a bee and it stings you, like you could possibly like.
What's the purpose of a bee stinging a human?
To
protect
yourself.
So, but it's not. The bee doesn't benefit because once the bee stings you, the bee dies. So remember, parasitism means one organism is going to benefit. All right, let's take a look at a video of parasitism. Brace yourself, those of you who have weak stomachs. Choice. This is a larvae. Listen.
Has spent the last 12 days gorging itself.
Gorging means eating and eating and eating.
Obese. But this is not all fat. The glomerata wasp larvae lie just under its skin.
So it's a caterpillar with larvae living inside of it.
Each is the size of a
wasp
grain of
larvae.
rice, but together they account for over a third of the caterpillar's weight. The larvae have not yet finished growing and need to keep their host alive. So although they feast on the caterpillar's blood, they have been careful not to touch a single one of its vital organs. This uneasy truce will not last. Within days, the larvae are fully matured. Suddenly, they begin to stir into action. For the past 2 weeks, this surrogate womb has protected them, but now they no longer need it.
I got what I want. Now I'm out. I've multiplied. I've lived off of you. I ate off of you. And the inside, look at all the other ones. I used you to multiply, to feed, so that I can multiply. And now I need to get out.
Caterpillar's thick skin should be a solid barrier to the parasitic wasp larvae. But as their bodies have grown,
It starts as a little burrow and it just goes right to the small portion of the skin. And now they're just going to use those teeth.
These jagged jaws are for one job only. Cutting their
Look at Canary.
stroke by stroke, the larvae slice through the tough layers of
Here
skin.
it comes, ladies and gentlemen. Chappie, look at the screen.
At the same time, they release chemicals that paralyze the
So now, the caterpillar is not feeling this, so the caterpillar doesn't freak out, so they can make an easy escape.
As the larvae break through, there is nothing it can do.
Caterpillar can't move, caterpillar can't bite them or do anything. But now they all have to come out.
Oh my god! I'm gonna throw up.
There's also a certain type of fly that the spider lays its eggs on. And then, when the eggs hatch, or it's vice versa, I'm sorry. Is it the fly that lays its eggs on the spider? Then hatch one of the two, and then, of course, when it hatches, it kills the organism. Yeah. All right, we're going to look down here at the bottom portion, and we're going to make your screen or your paper look like this bottom portion, the next portion. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me go back 1 second. Okay, so you're going to make your next sheet look like this. Where actually, don't put this right across. I'm sorry. Oh, maybe. Wait, let me think. How did I want this? Okay, yeah. I do want it like that.
So go at the bottom.
Go all the way. This goes at the top. This is at the bottom paper, but right across the top, you're writing this. Symbiotic relationships can be. And then draw a line, but don't go all the way down to the bottom because you're going to have a spot at the bottom that says impacts on ecosystem. So we're looking at what types of relationships symbiotic relationships can be, and then we're looking at their impact that they have on the ecosystem. Now notice with the orchid, with the tick, with the bee, where was the tick in relationship to the deer? In or on? On. Where is the orchid in relationship to the tree? On. Where is the bee in relationship to the flower? On. But where was the larvae? Inside. So, I'm just on another screen so that I can show you what we're going to put on this left side of what symbiotic relationships can be. They can be endosymbiosis. What do you think? Inside. Yep. And the other one, they can be ectosymbiosis.
You know, like in like if you say indoor, like IN and EN is the same thing.
Well, this is Latin. So one species lives inside the other. Endosymbiosis. You can make sure you get a picture. Not yet, but this is on the screen. For example, we all have bacteria that live within our digestive system, and this is the good bacteria. It eats the stuff that comes in to help with digestion. So you want to put that example, bacteria inside of my digestive system.
What about like tapeworms?
That is endosymbiosis, but that's a parasitic symbiosis, but it's still endo. Good one.
How do you get that?
By eating some food, it gets inside of your body through what you eat. If your food's not well done or if the food is contaminated.
So why is it, well, I know like when you go to restaurants and stuff, and you have to say like well done at the bottom.
That's some people's preference on why they like their food bloody and pink.
That's nasty.
Oh.
Well, it's to each his own. You can't be so judgmental. Some people like it, some people don't. It's nasty to you.
But
Let's
you
say
just
that.
know that you're going to have the risk of getting it.
And they let you know that too. It says it on the menu.
Yeah.
Eating medium rare or not well done food gives you a risk of, and they take the chance.
I've eaten.
All right, ectosymbiosis. One species lives on the surface of others. And you all said that when I showed you the two words, so good use of your root words. One example that we didn't put in one of our relationship examples, but it's still an example, is lice. Lice is going to feed on the skin and the blood and the oil of humans.
How do you get lice?
It's a parasite.
That's
Other people, the environment, animals. That's not true. Black people can get it,
We just don't
but
do
we
that
have
often.
I'll wait. People who use oils or have in their genetics where their hair has a buildup of oil, it normally lice won't stick. You can get it. It won't stick because they'll slide right off the follicle. They can't grab on. But those who do not have an excess of oil or do not add oils or chemicals to their hair, then the lice has a better chance of sticking to the scalp, which is the skin, sucking out the blood and utilizing those oils. Are we good? Here you go. Now I want you to talk to your group. Actually, talk to your shoulder partner and talk about the impacts that you feel symbiotic relationships will have on an ecosystem. We talked so much about these ecosystems. You know about these relationships. Talk about how they can impact the ecosystem. Go. I should hear you talking. Impacts, how they affect what happens in an ecosystem.
We gotta reply to ours. It's clear we not paying attention.
My sister probably was at Versailles.
No, it was
Keisha.
My cousin. She ratchet. All right. What are some impacts? Chappie.
Okay, you know, I'm obsessed with the tick and the deer. So
Now you are, but you'll never forget that.
Yeah. So I said, well, we said like the tick and the deer
Put this on
relationship.
Snap.
So if the tick like continues to like attach to the deer and the deers aren't healing well from like the tick bite, then they can die off and like they won't become extinct because there'll be a lot of deer, but it won't be as much in the ecosystem.
But let's feed off of that because you said it won't be as much in the ecosystem, but could they become extinct if there's a high population of ticks?
Well, yeah.
So is there going to be a change in the ecosystem?
Yeah.
Okay, so who ate the deer? Ticks didn't eat the deer. Ticks fed off the blood. But what organism, in our example, what organism ate the deer?
You eat deer.
Okay, we do eat deer, but who else?
The eagle.
The eagle.
And the snake.
The snake also was able to attack, but I don't know if the snake was the snake eat.
Yeah,
In our-
it happened before.
But when we look at our food web, was the snake a consumer of the deer?
No, we rat.
But it happened deer on our food. We had a hawk, a mouse, a rabbit, and a
Okay, but a snake could definitely, if a snake can capture a human. So think about these things. If we look at a parasitic relationship, parasites can wipe out a population of organisms. If one organism is wiped out, then what happens to another organism?
They get wiped out.
It can also get wiped out. So it's going to definitely mess up the food web. Also, with that being said, if one population is overpopulated, then it's going to also wipe out other organisms. But let's also talk about not only the bad, the parasitic relationship, what about mutualism and commensalism? What about mutualism and commensalism? What could their impacts be? Help sustain the ecosystem. So, symbiotic relationships physically change an ecosystem. You're not putting the right stuff on Snap.
Yes, I am.
Us participating, us learning, you're not putting the right stuff.
We are learning about egg so. Oh wait, it equals. I say egg so.
Now, don't write these words down word for word, but for every action in an ecosystem, there is a resulting effect. And reactions will change the makeup of the ecosystem in some way. How can we word that in our own words where it's not a full paragraph?
It's alright.
I want everyone to read it, then I want you to think about it for a second, and then I want you to talk to your face partner.
Face partner.
Alright, Sally.
Okay, Casper.
I should hear you talking. Think about some of the things that we already said. Don't you dare use any of my words. It's my class, not just y'all. All right, free.
Oh.
All right, D-Man, tell me something. Speak up.
I mean, we was getting to it.
We'll get to it now. How you was getting to it? I gave you 3 minutes. Give me something. Give me something now. This is your chance. How can we sum this up? We just talked about it when I asked you guys a couple different scenarios. Hernandez, think fast. It's the basketball court. The ball's just been thrown to you. What are you going to do? You're not gonna pass because they're both gonna take you off the court. How dare you? How dare you? Shauna. You got him for layup. Shauna. Right, how many days do we have?
Okay, so 8 more seconds.
7.
All right, so basically, yeah, a negative effect.
Oh, don't use my words, impact and all of that.
For every action, there's a reaction, and it can change the ecosystem in some way.
For every action, there's a reaction that can change the ecosystem in some way.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Something else?
We said there's a cause and okay. In the ecosystem, there's always a cause and effect relationship, and it can change the ecosystem in a positive or negative way.
Ooh, that's a good one
We
too.
said that too.
Very good. Say it louder, Chappie. Put this on the snap.
Yeah.
You got me in a not worried about
I
it.
said
Wait.
Go ahead, Chappie.
We said no.
Say it loud. No. Say it loud.
No.
Take her off. Say it loud.
In every ecosystem, there's a cause and effect relationship, and it could cause a positive or negative change in the ecosystem.
Good. Did you put a
Give me
filter on
some
that?
milk.
I didn't put no filter because you said no.
Don't need no milk.
So I
right.
recorded the floor.
So for every thing that happens, or there is a cause and effect. Relationships have causes and effects. That sounds better. Relationship has causes and effects. And it could positively or negatively change. We don't want to use effect again.
Change.
Say that again.
Relationships have causes and effects that could positively or negatively change the ecosystem. Isn't that what we just said? We talked about the animals and the ticks and all of that wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
Not yet. And one example that you all came up with was what?
If a deer dies, the eagle won't have any food to eat, so they might die off. Yeah.
Okay, so you can be specific in your example by saying if the deer died, or if you can even be broad and say if an organism dies,
The food web change.
it negatively affects the food web. Impacts the food web. So if a particular organism dies, then it disrupts. That's a better word. The food web.
Ooh, you can do some milk. Right.
I'll drink it. I drink coconut milk.
And almond milk.
So again, if an organism in an ecosystem dies, it could negatively impact the food web. Medicine gave us something else. Medicine, you were more on a positive note because you are a positivist, which is good.
So you said we're negative.
You are
To be honest.
pessimist and an optimist. That was the right words for it. All right, so give me your optimistic approach on it. Okay, get this on the snap. She'll be taking the right stuff. If one organism lives, it could be sustaining to the food web through those helping relationships. Mutualistic relationships help both organisms. That sustains the food web. Commensalist relationships help the organism. That could sustain the ecosystem. Certain animals eat these organs. If the organs are available, then they have the food to eat, which is the sustaining, which creates, another point, which would also indicate what about the ecosystem? In the first example, where organisms are dying and it disrupts the ecosystem, what type of indicator? Well, what's that word that you talked about when you talked about the health of an ecosystem? Biodiversity. So we look at the biodiversity of an ecosystem. If organisms are all dying off, is it a biodiverse ecosystem?
No.
If organisms are living and being sustained, is it a biodiverse organism, ecosystem?
Yes.
Very good. Make sure you're able to point out those things. Any questions? Questions? Yes. Yes, I want you guys to take a 2-minute break.
You want
You want to watch?
All right, so for your next side, this should be your last page. On the very top,
No, I have 3 more pages.
all those extra pages, you're gonna use them for review. But then the next page, we're going to the link. You're going to make it look like this. Good, I'm glad. Thank you. Appreciate it. So put it up at the top and then split it up in 3s. No, just the top. Yeah, the whole page though, just the top. The bottom, we're going to be using our artistic abilities on the bottom. All right, 3 things that we're going to talk about or we're going to have listed here. The cycling matter in human activity, one of the cycles in an ecosystem is the what? Water cycle.
Hydrologic.
Yep, hydrologic cycle.
No.
What? The other one, medicine. Carbon cycle. And Raji? Nitrogen cycle. Excellent. I'm glad you guys remembered. Awesome. So what we've just listed is cycling matter in the ecosystem. We have the 3 cycling matters. But we're not going to write down what all of these things are because we know what they are. We've talked about them in earth science. We talked about them in 8th grade. And fortunately, I was able to have you all in all of those units. And I had one of you in 7th grade. And I talked about it then, too. So we've had a long symbiotic relationship, more of a parasitic one. Where you all were harmed and I benefited. Or maybe it was mutualistic. You be the judge.
It was parasitic with Troy. You was harmed by him.
All right. So tell me, raise your hand. We're going to go through this portion really quickly. Tell me, what are some human activities that actually harm the water cycle? What are some things that humans do? Hernandez. Pollution.
Good job, boy.
This pollution could come from us doing what types of things? Oil spill, littering, factories, any type of contamination. All of that is a problem. So in here, I want you, human activity, I want you to put negative human activity. Alrighty? Carbon cycle. Who remembers biology that all living things contain carbon? Good. So bringing this all back together, what are some negative human activities that affect our carbon cycle? Hunting?
No, that's wouldn't that be more of a? Wouldn't that be? No, that's not a negative.
Not for the carbon cycle. Well, actually, if we hunt, we do take those organisms out of the carbon cycle, but equalizing of the flow of carbon. If we have too much carbon in the ecosystem, then that's where the problem of global warming. So we're looking at things that actually add more carbon to the system as opposed to normalizing it.
So if there's like over kill of animals or something, like a lot of animals are dead, so it's causing like a lot of carbon to be released, maybe. I don't know. Deforestation.
Deforestation is definitely.
Oh, you
Because plants are there to do what?
So take out the
Take out the carbon. If we start cutting down the plants, we have nothing to take out the carbon.
Like car exhaust?
Okay, burning of fossil fuel.
Oh yeah, fossil fuel.
Burning of fuels. And that can even be the fossil fuels.
Greenhouse effect.
from industrialization. From industries. I couldn't think of industries. Or from transportation. So this is why it's good to commute. Commute. When you ride with each other, that's why you have buses. Everybody gets on carpooling. That's what I meant to say, not commute. Carpooling. So everybody gets on the same, in the same vehicle to minimize the amount of transportation, which minimize the amount of fuel that's being burned and emitted to the air. Mining. Remember last year we did the cookie mining?
Oh yeah. With the Oreos.
Well, no, chocolate chips.
Chocolate chips, yeah.
So mining coal, that emits more carbon into the air.
Who mines anymore?
Lots of people. That's how we get our gas. Crazy lady. Like as if you mined in your lifetime. Who does that anymore? That's old. I don't do that no more. All right. Nitrogen cycle. Remember, these hydrogen, carbon, and nitrogen are the major substances that humans need or organisms need to live, period. Now, what type of human activity happens that emits too much nitrogen into the air, or what could be the effects of too much nitrogen being put in the air?
Greenhouse. Can you give us like an overview of nitrogen cycle?
Okay, we're going to draw it out. I'm going to go ahead and list this here so we can draw it out so then we'll make the connection. We could have drew it first and then did this, but I did it this way. All right, so remember nitrogen is located in, it's emitted or it's configured in lightning. So if we have too much nitrogen in the air, that's going to pollute the air and that's going to produce acid rain.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
You know what's so crazy is right during this lesson last year, this is when Princess passed. And I remember we drew it out and I did purple rain for the drawing. See, my rain was purple.
Yes.
I remember that. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's pay attention. So this is if too much nitrogen in the air. Too much nitrogen in the air or too much acid actually is going to destroy what? If we have too much acid that falls. Okay, it will destroy plants, but it also will destroy bodies of water. Did you say water cycle or?
Water supply.
Okay, yeah, good. Bodies of water.
Oh no.
You also said plants, so it destroys agriculture. Which then in turn harms organisms. Saquei uma foto. Say it louder, Jalil. Yes, that's what we're talking about. Cycling matter human activity that harms the ecosystem. So we can actually take this and put, wait, Draco. Instead of putting negative human activity harming ecosystem. Because that's what we're looking at. So we're looking at what do humans do within each of these cycles that can harm the ecosystem. All right, any questions? What happened? Should I say please? All right, so I want you, cut it out. I want you guys to look. I know that both of you are about to leave.
He aggravated.
Both of you are aggravating. All right, so what I need you to do right now is I need you, one person, actually you're going to get into, like, not get into, but make a group of 3 at each table, and you're going to talk about one thing that you can do to minimize these effects. Go.
Nah, it's cool. You say
Oh my God. Because I have to use our
All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so what we're going to do on the bottom page, you don't need to write the word that's demonstrating here. But what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to illustrate the water cycle. And then we're going to use, well, we don't need to label the water cycle because we know how the water cycle happens. But what do we have? First of all, we need land, right? This is on the bottom portion. Guys, let's go.
She tried to make me the main ones.
And in my land, I'm just going to draw some water, a body of water.
Wait, why did you say that? Oh, it's like what's that supposed to be?
This is my body of water. Lake, river, stream, whatever. Ocean, well, it's a small picture. What's my driving force of the water cycle? The sun. Ladies and gentlemen, just because I'm not continuously talking does not mean that we're not working. All right, tell me something about the water cycle that you remember. This is review from long ago, 5th grade. Evaporation. Where does evaporation come from?
From the sun, you know, the sun.
But what are we evaporating from?
The water.
The water. So here, this is our evaporation. All right. What else? Condensation coming from what? Our clouds. So here, this represents our condensation.
Only one cloud?
Yeah, we're just going to put one for now. That's part of the water cycle. But what?
Precipitation.
Precipitation.
Thank you.
Now what?
Oh, runoff.
Runoff. All right. So then I probably need to draw a little hill. Maybe. Where?
That's water.
No, that's not a hill. That's the rain. So maybe I'll draw a little hill there. A little mountain. And then I do need some runoff, which is going to right into the water. Lake Tavarcier. Enough. All right. So those, is that it?
No, not yet. Groundwater. Groundwater this week.
All right, what else?
Groundwater.
Groundwater.
Yeah.
We don't need to demonstrate that on here right now. That's not a part of the water cycle. It's what happens in result of the water cycle. So what else? Transpiration. Where does that come from?
Trees.
Trees. So I'm going to draw, actually, instead of a tree, I'm just going to draw a little plant here.
No tree?
I'm just going to draw a little bush.
Yeah.
A little bush here. And from this bush, what's transpiration, Queen? Evaporation from the plants. So here
Yeah. I think.
we have transpiration.
You're supposed to draw it down here.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do this, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else?
I messed up on this page, so since we have extra, can I work this out?
Anything else for the water cycle? There should be something else that you remember. Huh?
Groundwater.
Respiration is not from groundwater. Is not part of the water cycle either. What about when that water gets into the ground?
Groundwater.
It does percolate, but first it has to infiltrate. It's time for the percolator. So here is where the water has infiltrated and percolated.
Plays all day.
Remember, as the water is collected back to the earth or goes back to the earth, this is collection. Whenever the water is returned back to the earth. Is that all of the water cycle?
No.
Yeah. Continue.
Over and over and over.
Now, let's look at the carbon cycle.
Oh, no.
Since that's the next one that we...
It's on the new page?
No, we're going to add it right here because cycles all happen within an ecosystem, within an environment, all simultaneously. We're not drawing anything over. We're adding it to this. We're just adding it right to this picture.
Oh, wait. It was supposed to be a whole page.
Yeah, so you can just go to the next page and draw this picture. I said right at the bottom. You got to listen. We're not using any of those other pages, so you can just draw it on the next page. Alrighty. So with the carbon cycle, what happens? How does carbon get into the atmosphere? Well, too much carbon gets from deforestation, but how does carbon just get into the atmosphere? Plants, definitely. In this atmosphere. So, regular organisms, regular things that not any industrialization so far. So we're just going to symbolize that with some seeds. And this is putting, pay attention, carbon into the air. But what type of things picks up this carbon? Who eats these plants?
Animals.
Animals. I'm going to just draw a little bunny poo-poo. Can't see that. I'm going to draw a little bunny.
You said water there, organism, they eat the plants. Primary consumers eat the plants.
Troy.
The deer.
Troy.
I got a cute bunny.
It's my little bunny.
Look at my bunny. Should have got animals now.
All right. So the bunny, through our energy food web that Troy so graciously helped us to remember, it's going to take carbon in. So carbon's going to go into the bunny from eating it, also inhaling it in the atmosphere. How will the bunny put it out to the atmosphere?
Breathing.
Out.
Oh, nitrogen.
Breathing.
Oh, breathing. I just
So
said
the
that.
bunny also will put carbon into the atmosphere. How else can the bunny put carbon into the atmosphere? Huh? What else does the bunny release?
No.
Cockroaches.
So here
Ew, mommy, cockroaches.
we have your little
Poop.
and that has carbon. And that's going to go into the ground. This is your carbon. But what else could happen to the bunny? The bunny could die.
Oh, no, we're not going to put
So
that.
when the bunny dies, he also, or she, let's have a little funeral for Bunny. He was a good bunny. He took care of his family. His fam ate. He did hop a lot. But these plants could also die, and they go into the atmosphere also.
I think I was singing a wedding song.
You was. You was. Yeah, you was.
With that being said, this carbon goes into the ground, and once it goes into the ground, it stays there for a long, long time, and then it starts to create something in the ground. No, not carbon. Say it louder. Fossil fuel. Good job, Garcia. So this creates now fossil fuel. This is why we still mine, Drika. Because this fossil fuel is going to give us what? Oil. What else? Coal. This is all called what type of gas? Natural gases.
Oh, I remember that last year.
You should. I'm so glad. I didn't get that on the snap, Drika. Who uses this natural gas?
Everybody.
But what type of, where?
In our stove, in our cars.
So that would be from a what? House or building? Right? So therefore, we need to go ahead and draw a house or a building. I'm just going to draw an industry here.
I don't got that much room.
And then what happens with this building when it uses it?
Oh, yeah,
It lets off nitrogen.
And what's going to be released back into the air? Carbon. So here we've demonstrated a carbon cycle, because then this carbon is then taken back in.
Bye.
So organisms, but it's also released into the atmosphere all over. So far, so good. Nitrogen. Let's move on to nitrogen really quickly. I'm not going to get to the lab. We're going to have to do it. It's the only thing we're going to do tomorrow. No, two things. No, we'll still have it.
Yay! Snack party!
So we just illustrated the carbon cycle. Now, let's go ahead and illustrate the nitrogen cycle. And that's really quickly because everything's in the same picture. It all happens simultaneously. No, sir. Remember, what are the three elements that are in every organism? Carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. Oxygen is there, but the three that we're talking, because we get oxygen from our water cycle also. So carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, and oxygen. We've already taken care of oxygen and hydrogen through the water cycle. We're now looking at, we looked at carbon already, we're now looking at nitrogen. So, with that being said, remember I told you that nitrogen fixation happens through something called lightning. I want to do it in that color. Yes. So here's my lightning bolt. And I'm going to do them in yellow and here's my lightning bolt. All right, so through the lightning, nitrogen fixation happens, which means nitrogen is fixated into the air, which means it becomes available within the air. So now we have, now we have nitrogen being put into the air.
What in lightning gives you nitrogen? Like,
It's an element.
It's
an element.
Yeah.
So now that it's in the air, what's going to take it in? First of all, it's going to be taken in by the bodies of water that's there. What lives in the bodies of water?
Animals.
Little fishies.
Fish.
So we have our fish that are living there. Which we can also say, we forgot to add, when our fish die, they contain carbon. They also emit carbon into the soil, into the ground, which contributes to our fossil fuel. But getting back to our nitrogen, when our animals die, they also put nitrogen fixation.
Yes.
All right. Then our organisms, remember organisms have nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. So when this bunny breathes, it's also going to breathe out nitrogen. Well, before, we're going back. We're talking about before it dies. But now that it is dead, it also is going to release nitrogen
Too much nitrogen everywhere.
Too much nitrogen. The plant also has nitrogen, and it also will release nitrogen.
Look at this picture.
I know, it's supposed to look like that.
That's confusing. Can you stop?
And nitrogen fixation also happens in bacteria, which is underground. And that concludes everything about ecology that we need to know. Tomorrow we will link it up with a nice lab using some organisms and understanding how too much of a population could actually be a problem. All right, go ahead. Nitrogen fixation. Infiltrated and percolated. That's last year's review.